It was 10 minutes before the wedding was set to begin when my fiancé suddenly complained of a stomachache. Honey, could you run and grab some antacid for me? I don't want to ruin the wedding later and leave bad memories. I rushed out of the hotel, but when I returned, I was stopped outside the banquet hall. I'm sorry, the wedding has already started. Unauthorized personnel are not permitted inside. I froze, the bride hadn't even arrived. How could the wedding have started? I peeked through the crack in the door and saw my fiancé, Mike, in the center of the hall, embracing and kissing his ex-girlfriend, Chloe, basking in the applause and congratulations from everyone present. The enthusiastic voice of the MC came through the microphone. Let's once again congratulate the happy couple. Congratulations? My stomach churned. Taking a deep breath, I violently shoved open the obstructing door. The heavy wooden door slammed against the wall with a resounding bang. Instantly, the entire hall fell silent, all eyes fixated on me. I wore my most expensive wedding dress, stepping in high heels. Walking step by step towards the altar, my train swept the floor. Every step felt like I was treading on broken glass, but my back remained perfectly straight. The color drained from Mike's face instantly, and he frantically released Chloe's waist. Leah, how could you? How did I get back? I cut him off, my voice surprisingly steady, holding up the antacid in my hand. Because I got the medicine you asked me to buy. I gently placed the medicine box on the long table with a white tablecloth. With a soft thud, Chloe, wearing a bridesmaid dress that was clearly carefully chosen and matched the wedding's color scheme, had a hint of panic on her face, but more so defiance. She leaned closer to Mike. Eleanor, my always loving soon-to-be mother-in-law, hurried over, trying to grab my arm, and said in a hushed voice, Leah, let's discuss this privately later. Don't make a scene here. It's too embarrassing. I gently pulled my hand away from hers, my gaze still locked on Mike's face. Embarrassing? Is it more embarrassing than a groom suddenly replacing his bride at his own wedding? I raised my voice, ensuring everyone craning their necks in the hall could hear clearly. Mike, explain yourself now. Mike opened his mouth, speechless. Chloe, on the other hand, seemed to have finally found her moment to perform, her eyes welling up with tears as if on cue. Leah, I'm sorry. Mike and I are truly in love. We just couldn't help ourselves. Couldn't help yourselves enough to kiss my fiancé at my wedding, wearing the wedding dress I chose, in the venue I booked. I scoffed, sweeping my gaze across the guests below, whose expressions ranged from shock and sympathy to excited curiosity. My colleagues, my friends, my family were among them. Ladies and gentlemen, I turned to the crowd, my heart pounding in my chest. But my voice didn't waver. I apologize for putting on such a show for you all. It seems the leading lady for today's wedding has been temporarily replaced. I looked at Mike, enunciating each word with crystal clarity. Mike, we're over. I wish you and your true love you to deserve each other. A match made in hell. With that, I stopped looking at any of them. I turned, walking back down the red carpet I had just ascended, under the stunned gaze of everyone present. My head held high as I walked out from this place that had utterly humiliated me and left my heart shattered into pieces. Tears welled in my eyes, but I fiercely held them back, refusing to let them fall. Stepping out of the hotel, the afternoon sun was somewhat blinding. I stopped, pulled out my cell phone, and blocked all of Mike's contact information. Then, I moved back into the small apartment I had bought before the wedding. I tore down the one-suite photos from the wall and packed up everything Mike had left behind, throwing it into the trash can. My heart still felt like a gaping hole, whistling with a cold wind, but I forcibly filled it with work and Sophie's companionship. I didn't seek them out. I fully entrusted the legal matters to my lawyer. I told myself that wasting any more emotion on such people wasn't worth it. But they clearly didn't see it that way. A week later, at the coffee shop I frequented, Mike and Chloe cornered me. Chloe intimately hooked her arm through Mike's. On her ring finger was a dazzling diamond ring. It was originally mine. Her complexion was rosy, and her eyes sparkled with the triumph of a victor. Leah, what a coincidence. Mike spoke first, his tone complex, with a hint of barely perceptible guilt, but more so an unwillingness pushed forward by Chloe. Not really. I stirred my coffee without looking up. If you're here to show off, you can leave. I'm not interested. Chloe chuckled, her voice sickeningly sweet. Don't be like that, Leah. We just thought there were some things you should know, so you wouldn't keep misunderstanding Mike and hating us. I finally looked up at them. Hate? Do you deserve it? Mike's face fell. Chloe, however, seemed provoked by my attitude, stepping forward and raising her voice. Did you think Mike chose me because he didn't love you? You're wrong. It's because I'm pregnant with his child. She paused dramatically, expecting to see my breakdown, but I merely watched her calmly, gesturing for her to continue. My composure seemed to enrage her. She sped up her words, clearly savoring her outburst. I found out 2 weeks before your wedding. Mike's mother has always preferred me. And she said that the eldest grandchild of the Mike family absolutely couldn't be illegitimate. The wedding had to proceed as planned, but the bride had to be changed. If you want to blame anyone, blame your own barren womb. Mike tried to pull her back. Chloe, stop talking. Why not? Chloe shook him off, glaring at me. Do you think you won? You're just a pathetic fool kept in the dark. Mike chose me and the baby, and his mother supports us too. What do you have to compete with me? So that was it? The mystery that had been plaguing my mind finally unraveled. It wasn't profound love, but a child and his manipulative mother. The frustration that had been building in my chest, threatening to explode, suddenly dissipated. To suffer for a man who would so easily betray me due to family pressure and an unplanned pregnancy, orchestrating my own wedding as a public humiliation, felt like an insult to myself. I slowly stood up, picking up the ice from the table, my hand perfectly steady, not a drop spilled. They instinctively took half a step back. I didn't splash the coffee on them. That would have been a waste, and undignified. I just looked at Mike, my eyes devoid of anger, filled only with utter contempt and coldness. Mike, my voice was clear, like ice. So, because his mother wanted a grandchild, because you got someone else pregnant, you had to sacrifice me, even using a clumsy excuse like a stomachache to send me away, making me the biggest joke in the city at my own wedding? Mike's lips parted, but no words came out, his face a picture of utter humiliation, his facade completely shattered. Fine, I nodded, picking up my bag. Thank you for telling me the truth. It makes me feel that leaving you was the best decision I've ever made. I looked at Chloe, my gaze resting on her stomach. Congratulations. You're stuck with each other, and I wish you. I curled my lip in a sneer. To forever live under his mother's control, loving this man, who would even use his own wedding as a bargaining chip. With that, I ignored their flushed and pale faces. I walked directly past them and pushed open the coffee shop door. I threw myself into my work. Before the wedding, I was a jeweler and partner at a boutique jewelry store. To prepare for the wedding, I had put many designs and orders on hold. Now, these neglected metals and gemstones became my best refuge. I designed a new collection with the theme broken and remade. Using fractured natural crystals and unpolished carat gold, I formed lines full of power. I fused all my pain, betrayal, and awakening into these pieces. My best friend Sophie posted photos of my work on social media, accompanied by a short but powerful story about betrayal, rebirth, and how a woman forged the fragments of her life into a crown, unexpectedly. It resonated with many. Orders began to increase, and even a local lifestyle magazine contacted me, wanting to do a feature interview. I thought I had finally put those rotten people and affairs behind me, until that afternoon, the door to my studio was violently shoved open. Chloe walked in, with Mike trailing behind her, his face showing some hesitation. My studio was small, filled with all my hard work. Chloe glanced around, her eyes finally landing on the magazine featuring my interview on the table, her gaze instantly turning sharp. Looks like you're doing quite well for yourself after leaving Mike? She sneered. Her tone was sarcastic as she casually picked up a brooch. I was working on a bird breaking free from a shattered eggshell. Put that down. My voice was ice cold. Chloe recoiled as if burned, slamming the brooch back onto the workbench. Metal clanged against the solid wood surface with a grating sound. What are you so proud of? Relying on pity to earn this meager, pathetic money? Mike tugged at her arm. Chloe, enough. Let's go. Go where? Chloe shook him off, puffing out her visibly pregnant belly like a victory flag. I just wanted to see what kind of trouble this defeated loser could stir up. She pointed at me. Let me tell you, Leah, you won't get off easy. That interview of yours, talking about betrayal? Who are you hinting at? I set down my tweezers, calmly watching her as if observing a clumsy performance. Did I name names? Or did you just implicate yourselves and feel ashamed? Ashamed? Chloe let out a shrill laugh. You should be ashamed. You couldn't even keep your own man. I'm Mike's legitimate wife now. And our family of 3 is doing incredibly well. And you're stuck here touching these cold stones. Yes, stones are cold. I picked up the brooch, carefully checking to see if it was broken. But they won't betray you at your wedding. Nor will they bring their mistress to your door. Snapping and barking, Mike's face flushed scarlet instantly. Leah, watch your words. Watch what? I finally looked him squarely in the eye, my gaze like a knife. Watch out not to disturb you two legitimate spouses who came here to seek attention. Has your life become so unsatisfactory that you need to come here to feel superior? Chloe was stung by my words, instantly erupting in fury. She lunged forward, intending to sweep the tools and work-in-progress pieces off my workbench. I'll wipe that smirk off your face. I was prepared. I grabbed her wrist with a force that surprised even myself. I stared intently at her, enunciating each word. Chloe, this is my space. If you dare damage anything here, I will call the police and have you go to the police station for questioning, belly and all. Just try me. My gaze must have been too intimidating. Chloe's momentum faltered. She struggled, but couldn't break free. Seeing this, Mike finally stepped forward and forcefully separated us. He shielded Chloe behind him, looking at me with a complex expression. A hint of lingering old affection mixed with even more annoyance. Leah, we don't need to make such a scene. Can't you just live your life? I am living my life just fine. I pointed to the door. It's you two, barging in like flies and disturbing my peace. Now, please leave immediately. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind making my next interview much more detailed and specific. Mike's face was ashen. He eventually half-dragged, half-embraced the still ranting Chloe out of my studio. The moment the door closed, my feigned composure finally crumbled. A cold sweat broke out on my back, and my fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from rage. They were like maggots clinging to bone, refusing to let me go. Chloe indeed didn't let it go. A few days later, she published a carefully crafted lengthy post on her social media account. She didn't name me directly, but the target was clear. In the article, she portrayed herself as a true love met too late, enduring immense pressure for her relationship. She subtly mentioned certain individuals using public opinion to gain sympathy by playing the victim, engaging in cyberbullying, implying that I was relentlessly harassing her and even impacting her pregnancy, causing her to almost miscarry. She accompanied it with a close-up photo of herself with tears in her eyes, gently touching her pregnant belly, the background blurred, making her appear pitiful. Mike shared the post on his account, adding only 3 words, "My heart aches for you." This was a treacherous move. Unsuspecting netizens were easily incited by keywords like pregnant woman, love, and cyberbullying. Soon, my studio's account, and even Sophie's account, were flooded with offensive comments. Sophie was furious, screaming on the phone. They twisted the facts. How dare they? I looked at the comments, my heart squeezed by a cold hand, but this time, anger outweighed heartache. They wanted to drown me in insults and destroy my budding career. Sophie, calm down. I cut off her angry tirade. They want to provoke us, to make us lose control and retaliate, escalating the situation so they can keep playing the victim. So what do? Do we just let them slander us? Of course not. I looked at Chloe's affected photo on the computer screen, my gaze icy. Doesn't she love to perform? I'll show her what it means to let facts speak for themselves. I didn't make any public statements online. Instead, I had Sophie discreetly contact the editor of the lifestyle magazine that had previously interviewed me. We compiled a detailed statement of facts, describing the full incident at the coffee shop and providing the evidence we had to prove the timeline. All presented in a professional and objective tone. At the same time, I had my capable lawyer friend draft a strongly worded cease and desist letter. It wasn't sent directly to Mike and Chloe, but Sophie accidentally leaked trolls who were clearly hired by Chloe. The letter clearly outlined the falsehoods in Chloe's online statements and reserved the right to pursue legal action. After all this, I continued to update my studio's account as usual. I posted new design sketches, showcased the production process, and shared genuine positive reviews from clients who received their finished pieces. I posted a photo of myself meticulously polishing silver jewelry at my workbench, with a simple caption, "Truth may be silent, but it carries immense weight. Time will tell." I didn't wallow in the mud with Chloe, but chose a more dignified and powerful path. After weighing the situation, the lifestyle magazine editor, under pressure, published an op-ed on Online and Female, while not naming names. It cited some of the facts we provided and called for a rational view of online information. The fervor of the paid online commenters' truth, public opinion began to divide, with more and more people questioning Chloe's flawed love story. Chloe's smear campaign was like punching cotton. Not only did it fail to harm me, but it also gained me more rational supporters. She clearly hadn't anticipated that I would be so calm, and my counterattack so swift and precise. That day, I received an unexpected call from the owner of a well-known independent designer boutique in the area. She had followed the entire commotion and openly admired my designs and my unflappable composure, inviting my work to be featured in her shop. The collaboration discussions with the boutique went smoothly, and my broken and remade collection was selected to be displayed in a prominent themed exhibition area. This was a crucial step in my career. I poured all my energy into preparing the exhibits for the boutique, working overtime to ensure perfection, perhaps due to the intense work, or maybe because my pent-up emotions finally found an outlet. One late night I collapsed in my studio. Fortunately, Sophie, worried about me, came to check and promptly rushed me to the hospital. The diagnosis was severe fatigue and stress-induced stomach ulcers. The doctor ordered me to be hospitalized for a few days of observation. Sophie, her eyes red-rimmed, scolded me. "Are you trying to kill yourself? Is it worth ruining yourself like this for that scumbag and vixen?" Lying on the hospital bed, I watched the liquid drip from the 4-drip bag and gave a weak smile, not for them, but for myself. I had to get back on my feet, had to reach higher, to leave those who wanted to stomp on me far behind. However, the quiet was disturbed, and trouble continued to brew. News of my illness somehow got out, and it was twisted into another version. Chloe spread rumors in her inner circle, claiming that I had fallen ill and was hospitalized due to pent-up frustration after seeing her and Mike lovingly happy and blissful. Her words dripping with schadenfreude. These rumors inevitably reached my ears. Even the nurses looked at me with a hint of pity. I felt a wave of absurdity and disgust. What surprised me even more was that Mike actually came directly to the hospital. He held a garish bouquet of carnations, standing at my hospital room door, his face no longer showing the humiliation from the coffee shop, but instead a mixture of irritation and an inexplicable sense of superiority. "I heard you were sick." He placed the flowers on the bedside table, his tone stiff. I closed my eyes, not bothering to look at him. "Get out." He didn't move. Instead, he sat down on the chair beside the bed. "Leah, do we really have to be like this? Look at yourself now. What's the point? Will putting yourself in the hospital change the facts?" I snapped my eyes open, staring at him. "The fact is, you betrayed me at my wedding, and now you're condoning your wife spreading rumors. Mike, what exactly do you want?" "I want you to face reality." Mike's voice rose, filled with the indignant fury of someone whose pretense had been exposed. "Chloe and I are doing great now, and we're about to have a baby. Are you seriously going to spend your days messing with your worthless trinkets, constantly trying to make trouble for us online? Is that fun? Who are you trying to be strong for? Do you think this will prove you're better off than me?" He paused, his tone turning venomous. "Look at you, lying here in the hospital, all alone. Who else visits you besides Sophie? Leah, admit it, without me, you're nothing. Your so-called career is just a pathetic game of self-deception." His words were like poison needles, each one piercing the most painful parts of my heart. He wasn't there to visit. He was there to confirm my downfall, to savor his victory, and to try to drag me back into the mud. I looked at his face, slightly contorted with agitation. The love I once felt and the hatred I now held violently clashed within my chest, only to strangely settle into a cold, dead silence. I slowly sat upright and pulled the needle from the back of my hand. A bead of blood instantly welled up. I paid it no mind, my gaze fixed directly on him. "Mike," my voice was soft, yet it resonated like colliding icicles. "Are you finished?" He was momentarily stunned by my action of pulling out the needle and my icy gaze, speechless. "You say my career is a pathetic game?" I curled my lip in a sneer. It wasn't a smile, but an expression of extreme disdain. "All right then, let's see who gets the last laugh." I picked up the bouquet of carnations from the bedside table, and without even looking at them, tossed them directly into the trash can by the door. "Take your hypocrisy and get out of my room." I enunciated each word, crystal clear. "Furthermore, let me formally inform you that my lawyer will be adding new claims to our lawsuit regarding your and your wife's recent defamation and harassment against me. I'll see you in court." Mike's face utterly changed. He abruptly stood up, pointing at me as if to say something, but ultimately, under my utterly cold gaze, he reluctantly withdrew his hand and slammed the door shut. Quiet returned to the room, with only the small blood mark on the back of my hand and the bouquet in the trash can serving as proof of what had just transpired. I pressed the call button, asking the nurse to restart my phone. The brief rest in the hospital was like a forced recharge. Mike's foolish provocation, far from breaking me, had instead tempered me like steel, making me even stronger. I channeled all my emotions, anger, disdain, and that lingering bit of resentment into the final rush of preparing for the boutique's exhibition. On the opening night of the exhibition, it was a star-studded event. The lights glittered, and elegantly dressed guests filled the space. My broken and remade collection was displayed in the most central location of the exhibition hall. The fractured crystals refracted sharp and brilliant light under the carefully designed illumination, while the twisted, powerful carat gold lines seemed to silently speak of struggle and rebirth. Beside each piece was a brief statement of design inspiration about transforming pain into strength, devoid of self-pity, only resilience. I wore a simple black evening gown, standing a short distance away, watching people pause, marvel, and quietly converse in front of my work. Sophie flitted through the crowd like a happy butterfly, occasionally shooting excited glances my way. "Miss?" A steady male voice spoke beside me. I turned to find Daniel, one of the main partners of the boutique. He was around 40, with a refined demeanor and keen eyes, known in the industry for his unique discernment. "Mr. Daniel?" I gave a slight nod. "Congratulations." He raised his glass, his gaze sweeping over my exhibition area. "The pieces are powerful, even more striking than in the photos, especially after knowing the story behind their creation." His tone was calm, without pity, only pure admiration. "Thank you." I accepted the compliment gracefully. Pain can be fuel, but the work itself must stand on its own. Daniel's eyes flashed with approval. "Well said." Several important collectors and fashion magazine editors have already expressed interest, especially that breaking the cocoon brooch. He pointed to the independent display case in the center of the hall. "Someone offered a very high price, but I suggest you consider submitting it to the cutting emerging competition next month." Cutting competition? My heart gave a jump. That was a highly influential stepping stone in the national design industry. Winning it meant boundless prospects. Yes, I believe it deserves a larger stage. Daniel looked at me, his gaze meaningful. "Of course, this will elevate you to a higher position, and it might also attract more attention. Even storms. Are you ready?" I understood his implication. The higher I climbed, the more eyes would be on me, and people like Mike and Chloe would likely become even more resentful. I met his gaze, without a hint of hesitation. "I've never been afraid of storms." Daniel smiled, handing me a business card. "This is my personal contact details. Regarding the competition, if you need anything, you can contact me directly. I look forward to seeing how far you go." After he left, holding the crisp business card in my hand, it felt like I was holding a new opportunity, and also a challenge. The exhibition was a great success. Orders poured in, media coverage increased. Scandal to my designs themselves. The official invitation to the cutting competition also arrived at my studio. I worked tirelessly to prepare my submission. I further deepened the broken and remade concept, designing a collection called Phoenix's Rebirth, centered around a neckpiece inspired by flames and phoenix feathers, with more complex craftsmanship and a more magnificent presence. Just a week before the submission deadline for the competition, Sophie stormed into my studio. "Leah, look at this." She shoved her cell phone in front of me. It was a forum post on a niche but well-regarded design forum, with a glaring title, "Deep into the Phoenix's Rebirth Collection, Broken Goddess or Habitual." The post, complete with illustrations, accused the core elements of my Phoenix's Rebirth collection of plagiarizing an older work by Serena, a less-known Chinese designer living abroad. The poster included blurry photos of Serena's work. Some lines and elements did bear a slight resemblance to my design, but the overall style and concept were fundamentally different. The thread quickly gained traction with comments, filled with various speculations and insults. My heart sank. Such an accusation is fatal in the design world. "It's Chloe." Sophie gritted her teeth. I checked the IP address. Even with the disguise, the trace points to that coffee shop she frequents. That bastard Mike must be involved too. They truly hadn't given up. After direct confrontation and public smear campaigns proved ineffective, they chose a more insidious and professional tactic, attacking the very foundation of my career and reputation. I looked at the so-called evidence, my fingers cold, but my mind raced. Anger wouldn't solve anything. I had to stay calm. "Sophie," I took a deep breath, "help me with two things. First, do everything you can to contact Serena, the designer herself, as soon as possible. Second, gather all design process images for my Phoenix's Rebirth collection, from initial inspiration sketches and hand-drawn drafts to every modification, complete with timestamps." Facing the rapidly escalating plagiarism accusations on the forum, I felt no panic. Anger is a reaction of the weak. I had learned to convert emotion into precise action. Sophie, my voice was unusually calm. Stick to the plan. You're in charge of posting a brief statement on our studio's official account, saying only this: the innocent need no proof. Facts speak for themselves. See you tomorrow at noon in the live stream then. Stop all interaction in the comments section. This minimalist approach was more powerful than any feeble defense, and it successfully piqued everyone's curiosity. Meanwhile, I leveraged all my connections, and with Daniel's help, after much effort, finally reached Serena, the designer living in Italy. I packaged and sent her the complete design process drafts for the Phoenix's Rebirth collection, along with the link to the forum's accusation post. Accompanied by a sincere explanation, Serena's reply was faster and more direct than I expected. She first expressed her anger at this clumsy, fabricated accusation, then sent her complete design manuscripts from that series years ago, exhibition records, and even essays on her creative process. Her design inspiration originated from traditional landscape aesthetics, which fundamentally differed from my Phoenix's Rebirth in concept and visual presentation. The so-called similar lines were merely basic techniques in metal forging. This is simply an insult to us designers. Serena's voice was agitated over the international call. Leah, I authorize you to use all my original materials for clarification. If needed, I can record a video statement. Thank you very much, Ms. Serena. A video might not be necessary for now, but your written authorization and original materials are the most powerful weapons. After receiving Serena's authorization and original designs, Sophie and I pulled an all-nighter, systematically organizing all the evidence. The next day at noon, the live stream began promptly. I wore no makeup, dressed in simple work clothes, with my workbench as the backdrop. Tools and work-in-progress pieces from the Phoenix's Rebirth collection scattered upon it. I didn't cry, didn't show anger, and didn't even glance at the questioning comments. Like a calm surgeon, I systematically began to present all the evidence we had prepared. Regarding the accusations on the forum, here is our response. My voice, through the microphone, was clear and steady. I played a comparison timeline, displayed Serena's authorization email and original manuscripts, and then used animation to demonstrate my complete design evolution process. When the animation, filled with meticulous timestamps, concluded, the truth was immediately clear. Finally, I showed video clips of master craftsmen explaining the techniques, along with my notarized cease and desist letter. Every one of my designs is born from countless late-night thoughts and innumerable failed attempts. It is the crystallization of my life experiences, and it will not be defiled. I raised my eyes, looking directly into the camera, my gaze sharp as a knife, as if it could pierce the screen to see those hiding in the shadows. For the instigators hiding behind anonymous IDs, spreading rumors and trying to destroy my career, I have sufficient evidence. The cease and desist letter is just the beginning. I'll see you in court. This time, I will show no mercy. The live stream ended. Public opinion instantly reversed. All the mud previously slung at me now backfired with even greater intensity. The power of netizens was immense. Quickly, someone dug up the connection between the alternate social media account that posted and Chloe's best friend, then traced it back to Chloe and Mike. Furious condemnations flooded Chloe's social media, and some even began boycotting Mike's family business. A few days later, I received a text message from Mike using a new number, his tone unprecedentedly frantic. Leah, do you have to be so ruthless? Chloe is under a lot of pressure. If something happens to the baby, can you take responsibility? I looked at the message, feeling an overwhelming sense of irony. When they teamed up to destroy me, did they ever consider my fate? I replied with 8 words, then blocked the number again. You reap what you sow, and it's none of my concern. The plagiarism scandal ended with my absolute victory. After this battle, my name and the Phoenix's Rebirth collection gained widespread recognition. The panel of the cutting competition also made a public statement, commending the professionalism, composure, and robust chain of evidence I demonstrated during the controversy. Considering it a testament to a designer's excellent qualities, I stood in my transformed studio, looking out the window. The clouds cleared, and the sun shone brightly. I knew that I had not only cleared my name but had also paved a stronger path for myself with a decisive counterattack. On the night of the Cutting Emerging Competition Award ceremony, it was a star-studded event. I wore the simplest white satin gown, adorned with the phoenix's rebirth neckpiece, the very one that had endured the controversy and ultimately helped me reach the finals. Fractured red tourmaline shimmered like burning flames, encasing ray-forged carat gold wings, more soaring in form, glittering brilliantly under the lights. When the award presenter called out my name and the work Phoenix's Rebirth, the hall erupted in thunderous applause. The spotlight on me was dazzling, but my steps were steady as I walked, step by step, towards the center of the stage that once seemed out of reach. Receiving the heavy trophy, I faced the countless faces in the audience, among them Daniel with a satisfied smile, Sophie who was on the verge of tears from excitement, and many unfamiliar but appreciative gazes. Thank you. My voice, carried through the microphone, filled the venue. Remarkably calm. This award belongs to everyone who has struggled in the ruins but never stopped gazing at the stars. I didn't mention specific hurts, but every word came from that deeply painful experience. Phoenix's rebirth is born from brokenness. Thanks to the forces that tried to destroy me, I now know I can be even more resilient than I imagined. Art, like life, finds its true value not in flawless perfection, but in the courage to rise from the ashes. Meanwhile, in another nondescript corner of the city, the ending was unfolding. Mike and Chloe were squeezed into a tiny rental apartment. On the screen, there I was, standing on the podium, composed and confident. Mike's family business had long since collapsed, beyond recovery, due to a series of scandals and partners withdrawing. The heavy mortgage, baby formula expenses, and the compensation I was owed for their failed plagiarism accusation lawsuit were suffocating them. Stop watching. Chloe shrieked, trying to turn off the TV. Her face was haggard, utterly devoid of the arrogance she'd displayed when she first burst into my studio. The pressures of life and the continuous public scorn had riddled the true love relationship with cracks. Mike shoved her away, his eyes fixed on my radiant image on the screen, bloodshot and filled with an inexpressibly complex mix of emotions, regret, but more so, a furious, twisted inability to accept reality. How could she be standing there? He muttered, like a caged animal. How could she? Because you're useless. Chloe's pent-up resentment exploded. If it weren't for your and your mother's schemes back then, if you hadn't insisted on provoking her again later, would we be in this situation today? I was utterly blind. Shut up. Mike shot to his feet, sweeping his hand across the table, knocking over the cheap beer bottle. The sound of shattering glass and a child's cries instantly echoed through the cramped space. If you hadn't used your pregnancy to force my hand, at the celebration after the awards ceremony, Daniel raised a glass to me. Congratulations, well deserved. What are your plans next? Several international galleries are very interested in your work. I clink glasses with him, giving a slight smile. Thank you, Daniel, for your continuous support. I'd like to establish my own independent studio first, to create more freely. After all I'd been through, I knew even more clearly what I wanted. Excellent, Daniel nodded, his gaze filled with pure admiration. If you need anything, my promise still holds true. After the banquet, I walked alone on the deserted streets late at night. The evening breeze blew, carrying a cool edge that sharpened my senses. My cell phone vibrated in my clutch. A bank deposit notification. The amount, including compensation for wedding losses and emotional distress, had been fully deposited. Mike and Chloe didn't even have the courage to delay it. I stopped, looking up at the city's dazzling night sky. In that moment, I felt a sense of lightness and peace I had never felt before. The shackles of the past were completely severed. Those people and events that had once made my life a misery finally became a distant, indistinct background noise. I took out my cell phone and called Sophie, my tone light. Sophie, come with me somewhere tomorrow. Where to? To see a new studio space. I paused, and a truly relieved smile touched my lips. And help me find the best jeweler for melting. Melting what? That old ring. My voice was calm, as if I were talking about something trivial and unrelated to me. It was time for the traces of the past to completely transform into nourishment for the future. Starlight spilled down, illuminating the path ahead. My new life had just begun.